Today I'd like to talk with you about another set of resources for finding quality journal articles and books for your topics. I know the bibliography is coming up and you need 10 good secondary sources for that project. Up until this time I've talked about a number of resources. Two of them are Google Scholar and Google Books. We're going to start today on Google Scholar. Google Scholar and Google Books both search the insides of books and articles, and when you're doing searches there, you want to use as closely and carefully refined terms as you can find. If you start out with something that's more like a topic heading, let's say I'm working on fast food, and I put in fast food 1950s. This is the kind of search you'd do if you were searching topic headings, but Google Scholar doesn't search topic headings, it searches the insides. And so the quality of what we're finding here isn't great. Fast Food Nation sounds promising, but it's actually a book about the place of fast food in present-day society. It references the 1950s, really just in passing. So this is the kind of source you dig it out, take a look at it, you realize, this really isn't helpful to me, and you put it back. And there's a lot of that in research. You shouldn't be surprised when your first attempts at finding sources don't work out. You got to keep looking, and you got to try something cleverer. So what might we do that would be clever? We want to search an unusual term. We could try Ray Kroc. He's an interesting guy. He's got a strange name. This is a guy, of course, who expanded McDonald's to the business powerhouse it is today. He purchased the company from the people who founded it in the mid-50s. And we do find some articles here, but you'll notice there's a focus here on business. Ray Kroc is famous for being a great business leader, and so as a result, a certain number of these things are really about how to be a good business leader. But there's something that's promising here. McUrbia, the 1950s, and the birth of the contemporary American landscape. That sounds very promising. So that would be something I'd want to take a look at. The origins of McDonald's Golden Arches. This looks like it might be interesting. It's in the Journal of the Society of Architectural Historians. So that might be promising also. So there are a couple of good leads here. I might also try a strange term from the period. If I try multi-mixer. This is the milkshake machine that Roy Kroc was selling at the time when he purchased McDonald's, first went into a joint venture and later purchased it. And this gives us some more books that are related to McDonald's. America in the 1950s. It's a sort of general interest book. It may not have enough on McDonald's concentrated, but it's a possibility. Here's another business book that's not super helpful. It's difficult to know ahead of time which sources are going to work out. And now this doesn't seem to be working as well as I thought it might. But one lesson is you need to try lots of searches with lots of different key terms, playfully trying different things you've learned from your studies so far until you find sources that are useful. If you're not successful at first, keep trying. But one of the main things I want to impress upon you is the importance of changing your key terms, trying different ones out. The other option, though, is to try a different resource altogether. If we go back to the BU library, I've shown you how you can use this search header to search for articles. This searches the interior of articles, as I understand it, but just the exterior of books. It searches just the key terms headings for books. But there are some other sources here that are worth knowing about. If we go down here to research guides, there are guides for doing research in various different subjects. And in your later studies at BU, you're going to want to remember this. Later on, if you go into Stern and you want to do some research at business and management, there's a whole section broken down by industry and division to help you with that. Science and engineering, social science. Today we're interested in history, so I'm going to click here. We could click on general arts and humanities or history, or maybe film. Later in the term you may be interested in, literature and language. Up here in area and cultural studies, another way of defining what we're doing today is American studies. We're studying the history of America and the culture of America. American studies is like history with a lot of culture and society mixed in, so it's a good description for what we're doing. Under American studies, there are a number of different resources that they're pointing out to us. There's a whole section